Once upon a time, there was
a girl
who
lived in a house.
Once upon a time, there was a person or place who did a thing. And that person was Miss Mini Life. And that place was wherever Thumbelina lives.
Our living room.
In our living room.
Hi everyone, welcome to a video where I, Miss Mini Life, get completely out of my comfort zone. A few videos ago I made a fairy house inside of a light switch, and a few people asked me if I could make a tiny fairy. I am not a sculptor, but I thought I could go ahead and learn some new skills and give it my best attempt. So today I am making a mini fairy. I was learning as I was building this fairy, so it does go through a lot of different changes. One right off of the bat is that I make some resin eyeballs that I completely scrap by the end of this build. So in the beginning, you will see that I'm using those, but I don't actually show where they came from. It just felt like I shouldn't include that since they don't get used in the finished product. But if you are interested in how I make them, I have a video up on my Patreon of making the resin eyeballs for whatever you need those for, and that will be linked down in the description box. Let's make a fairy. I'm starting off by sculpting the head, and I'm just using tinfoil and wrapping on some polymer clay, and then I use those resin eyeballs that I mentioned earlier. Doing the head seemed like the best place to start because that way, even if I kind of messed up on the scale that I had decided to go with, I kind of make the rest of the body parts fit along with the head instead of getting to that last and having it be completely the wrong side. I'm using some galvanized steel wire, and it wasn't thick enough, so I twisted it using my drill. And then I learned this trick for making fingers and hands on Pinterest, and I'll link that down in the description box so you can see the tutorial that I saw. One thing that I did learn while doing this is that it's best if you do both hands and arms and legs at the same time that you do, like if you do the right one and the left one at the same time. Otherwise, you run the risk of them being different sizes and not actually matching when you put them on the body. I wasn't too concerned about how the body looked underneath the clothing because I knew I was going to add clothing to it. So once I had like the hands and the general outline of the body sort of fleshed out, I moved on to making the clothes. I was torn between making actual clothes out of fabric and just sculpting the clothes, and I was pretty sure I wanted to do sculpting, but I wanted the fabric to look like real fabric. So I rolled out some polymer clay and then rolled fabric on top of it to make the impression of the fabric on the clay, and then I tried to carefully cut out all of the pattern pieces and put it all together without squashing that pattern along the way. This outfit is based on some outfits that I saw when I went to the Renaissance fair recently. It was my first time there and I had a lot of fun, and I really loved all of the peasant girl corset outfits that I saw. So I used that as the inspiration for her outfit. I felt like this design also fit really well with being something that's simple and thrown together from a bunch of scraps. This is the primer that I use. It's Krylon Color Max Primer. I'm using white because I think that makes the skin tone look better. For some reason, gray and black, the skin just didn't look right on the demos. And this stuff dries really fast for a primer, which I love because I am super impatient. So I highly recommend this if you're doing any kind of sculptures and you need a base for your paint. This is my favorite primer. After I give it a coat of primer, I mix together some Liquitex paints until I have a skin tone that I like and start working on painting in the skin. I had used some masking fluid to cover the eyes, and this is where I started to realize I didn't like the resin eyes that I had made, and I started trying to fix it by working on the makeup and doing different things with the face, and I never actually liked it, so I just put it aside and went back to work on painting the rest of the doll. Painting the clothes was a little bit difficult to manage because there were a lot of little nooks and like crannies that I realized I didn't have paintbrushes that could fit into. So that was one of the biggest problems I faced when I was painting this, because I didn't want to leave any parts of it peeking through, but I just did the best I could. I'm still trying to fix these eyes, so I added some resin. I thought that might help, but then I still didn't like it, so I just moved back onto the clothing. I'm drawing in all of the little details. I wanted it to have like a floral pattern, and I had to get my colored pencils extremely sharp for this part. After sharpening it to what I thought was sharp, I realized it was still too big and couldn't actually get where I needed it to get to put on the little pattern. But yeah, just one of the things I learned while doing this. I went through a few different attempts at making fairy wings, and I realized that I really didn't want them to look like the typical fairy wings that I saw when I was just like scrolling through pictures on Instagram or Pinterest. And I've always really liked dragonfly wings. So I got some big pictures of some dragonflies, and then I copied some wings that I liked onto shrink plastic. And this was the most time-consuming part of the entire build, but I really love how it turned out. After baking the shrink plastic while it's still pretty warm, I folded it and separated the wings so that it would stay in this shape. I just added some UV resin over the top of that and then let that cure. I typically have commitment issues when it comes to my art projects, and I knew that I wasn't going to like the first hairstyle that I did for this doll, so I decided to just go for making her a tiny, tiny wig cap, and then I could make different wigs and see which hairstyle I liked the best. To make this wig cap, I'm covering her head in cling film, and then I'm going over that with a stocking, and then I'm covering the stocking with white glue. I let that dry, and that makes a mold of her head, and then I pull it off and start working on the hair. I'm using acrylic yarn that I'm combing out and using my flat iron on to straighten, and then I'm using white glue to attach it to the wig cap. I use this yarn that changes different colors, and I really love how it looks. I actually kind of wish I had this wig in real life. And at the end, I decided to curl it, so I wrapped some strands around one of my metal sculpting tools, and I'm using my flat iron to just set those curls in place. After all of that, I couldn't live with how the eyes and the face looked, so I gave the entire thing another coat of paint, painted over the eyes, and then I drew in the eyes carefully using colored pencil and used a little bit of paint for the details, and I think this looks so much better. I still have a lot to learn, but I'm happy with this finished result. Thank you so much to everyone who is a member on Patreon. Here are my patron shout outs. And anyone who ever became a patron, even if you're a patron for just a month, it really helps out the channel and it allows me to actually try out some of these new products and try different techniques. So I really, really appreciate it. If you want to become a patron and help support the channel, you can get some updates mainly about what I'm working on and what the goals are, and also there are some Patreon exclusive videos that come out there. I share my artwork with you guys and my design process. Thank you so much everyone for watching. I hope you learned something. I learned a lot on this build. It's definitely going to help me in the next project I'm working on, which is a mermaid grotto where I have to actually make a mermaid. So now I actually have some idea how to do that. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You could do that right now. Bye.